Welcome to the Locks DFS preview of the Thursday night showdown. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins and the Houston Texans, probably one of the least exciting showdowns we've had in a while. I'm Christian Hardy with Taylor Stuber and Addy Narang. I feel like I always just say Addy's first name. I always say everyone's first name. But anyway, I want to before we get into everything, I'll just run down a few things. First of all, the giveaway that we've been doing it every week. If you watch the showdown videos, from now on, we're going to be giving away a free NFL or NBA pass. You choose on every Monday night show. It's just going to be for the week. So all you have to do is comment on a video. The more you comment, the more we're going to see your name, the more chances you have to win. But we're going to be giving away a free season pass to someone who comments and subscribes every week for the rest of the season. So obviously do that. This is a chance to do that. You can just comment with whatever you think about the game, about these players, your favorite player of the day. Second thing, let's go through kind of the totals of this game. Texans are a 7.5-point favorite at home. Their team total is at 25.75. The Dolphins is at 18.25, and the total is at a low 44. Lots of injuries in this game. Both of the quarterbacks are injured. One is out, Ryan Tannehill. The other has a collapsed lung and a broken rib, Deshaun Watson. Tannehill being out is going to open up, as we've seen in the last 2 weeks, Osweiler at quarterback, Brock Osweiler, and he's actually one of the cheapest quarterback plays we've seen on the showdown in a while, which we can talk about that a little bit. And then at receiver, there's also a lot of injuries on both sides. For the Dolphins, Kenny Stills is out, and Albert Wilson it was put on IR this week. I believe he was this week. So that's that. Basically, what we're going to have is Amendola is the main target for them now from pretty much – I mean, he was already the top target for Osweiler, and now he should be targeted even more with Stills and Wilson out. But it'll also open up out wide Jakeem Grant and where I'm just looking for his name, DeVante Parker. Both of those guys are cheap, and we'll talk about that as well. And then for the Texans, Kike Kuti is out.
Cuties.
Is it?
No, it's just what I say.
So Will Fuller obviously gets a little bit more interest, and he's way priced up, which is surprising because these prices came out before the injury news. I thought Fuller's price was high, but he his 2 games without Kiki, I guess we should mention, 8 for 113 and a touchdown, and 5 for 101 yards and a touchdown. Okay, with all that said, the last thing I'll say is all of our Twitter names at Locks DFS on Twitter. We just tweet about lineups and what we're doing. Addy is at Really Addy. Taylor is at Taylor Stuber, and I am at By Hardy. They're all in the description as well. So follow us on Twitter. You can ask us questions. We like to interact with people. So cool. All right. So MVP. I would say probably, as we usually say, there's kind of a cutoff when we're thinking about studs in our MVP. For me this week, it's probably Taylor likes Amendola, who's priced really nice for his role and makes sense as an MVP. But I think probably for me it's between like Miller, Amendola, and then these 3 right here. But where do you guys think you'll kind of go with MVP?
I mean, I think I'm going with Amendola. Christian talked about earlier with the injuries to Albert Wilson and Kenny Stills. I mean, if you take 2 of the most targeted players off of that team and it leaves you with just Amendola in the last 2 weeks, he leads the team in targets with 17. That's 13 catches. Yeah, 17 targets, 13 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. And those are the 2 games with Brock Osweiler. So I think it says a lot that kind of seems like the go-to guy for him playing in the slot. Has a lower ADOT, which is good for the safety of Brock Osweiler. And I think that they're going to be playing behind this game, or at least it's going to be a back-and-forth game, like a slow-paced game. So it fits the style of Danny Amendola. I like.
Addy?
Yeah, I agree with that. Another point on that is that the Texans are missing their slot cornerback. So that's a plus for Danny Amendola. The problem with all these Miami pass catchers are the fact that I just don't know how much time they'll have versus this Houston pass rush that ranks 8th in the league. And I think they might regress positively because this pass rush is pretty ferocious. And Brock Osweiler is kind of a guy that likes to hold on to the ball too much. And so, but I think that is bailed out with Amendola's low ADOT. I think if there is pressure, it'll be a lot of checkdowns to Amendola. So I like that. I like that call a lot in the captain spot. I also like Lamar Miller. I mean, I think they'll feed him a lot versus Miami. We kind of talked about this before we started recording. Deshaun Watson's banged up, so they may lean a little heavier on Lamar Miller. And he looked to take over the lead back duties in his last game versus Jacksonville. I mean, he put up 100 yards, 3 targets, only 1 catch, and he didn't do much with it. But he scored a touchdown, and it looked like he's kind of the top dog beside over Alfred Blue. And so I think they'll lean on him a little bit. It's a good matchup. It's not a bad matchup. And so I like him a lot. Probably around there is where I'm going to go for my captain spot, though.
Yeah, it's really the question between Lamar Miller and Amendola for me in the captain spot with the way roster construction works out. Because, like Eddie was saying, Deshaun Watson is seemingly banged up, and you've seen it in the weeks past. Miller's touches are way up, and Deshaun Watson was averaging like 37, 38 pass attempts a game, and you've seen the last 2 games he's passed like 24 and 25 times. And on top of that, Houston already has the 31st ranked worst pass protection offensive line. So the best thing to keep him on his feet and keep him healthier than he is right now is to pound the ball with Lamar Miller. The only thing that I see wrong with Lamar Miller is that he's not involved in the passing game at all. I'm also kind of reliant on scoring.
I mean, we've seen Alfred. I mean, coaches sometimes do wacky things, and last week could have been an outlier in terms of his workload because we only saw that happen for 1 week where he gets a large lion's share of the carries. I believe it was just like he's been getting more, but this was the 1 week that we're like, okay, wow. But Blue has had big weeks as well. I was just looking at his stats and his carries. But that said, I think Lamar Miller is going to be the guy. But that's the one concern with Miller to me. Is that if they control the game, could they just stick Blue in there and let him go,
Well, that's what happened last week against Jacksonville. They led the entire game, and that led to Lamar Miller getting 20 carries. So if you expect them to control this game like Vegas thinks and like most people think, I think Lamar Miller is a good play and due for a similar workload.
Yeah. I mean, Bill O'Brien is a guy who his system is like predicated on having just like 1 3-down back. He always talks about how he likes that. So I think that might lean towards Lamar Miller getting more of a workload, more of a stable workload, hopefully. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and take this as a trend. I know it's just a 1-game trend, but I think Lamar Miller will kind of get more usage going forward.
Let's go ahead and obviously we talked about these two in captain. They're going to both be in our lineups. Let's throw Miller and Amendola in. One thing I kind of want to
make one more note. Sorry, not to interrupt, but one more note on captain spot. I think this is actually also a good week just to pay up at captain. Like, I don't think you should go like overly cheap. Like, I think our range is the bottom kind of we talked about, but I think paying up for like DeAndre Hopkins or someone is in play because a lot of these it's a low scoring slate, so there's not a lot of studs to pay up for in your flex spots. So like, if you're gonna roster like a kicker, maybe even the Texans defense, maybe Jakeem Grant. Like, you're going to have money to pay up, so you might as well roster someone good in your captain spot.
Yeah. I was messing around with it earlier. It's kind of hard because you're going to end up – because there's like 4 players that I want for sure. I want Miller, Amendola, Hopkins, and Deshaun Watson. So it's kind of
that's
hard.
That's the next thing I want to talk about. I wanted to talk about Deshaun Watson and mostly talk about and this sounds a little bit crazy, but I mean, we've seen Deshaun Watson's volume the last few weeks. Obviously, it's a negative game script, Buffalo and Jacksonville, but 25 and 24 pass attempts. He's not running the ball as much. I mean, is there an argument for taking the 3.4K discount and taking the game script positive quarterback in Brock Osweiler, who's been tossing the ball around? I'm just saying.
I mean, there's definitely merit to it. I mean, honestly, like the sharp thing to do would probably do that. To be honest, I mean, it looks like the chest issue is definitely a problem, and yeah, like you said, the game script is more in Osweiler.
Yeah, I think I can continue that point by saying I think I like that for sure. I mean, if you just pull up Deshaun Watson's past 2 weeks, I mean, he looks like extremely hampered by that chest injury. I mean, 24 and 25 pass attempts the last 2 weeks. He's not really rushing the ball too much. And especially not effectively the past 2 weeks either. I mean, this guy took a bus to the game because he couldn't fly on the plane. So like something's up with his chest. So
I kind of want to see what his ADOT has been over where it's been over the last 2. Oh, he only has targeted 3 receivers over the last 2 weeks. What? Oh, no. I don't have running backs and tight ends. I was like, what's going on? I always do that on this website. It's actually decent. I mean, but he's still targeting these guys down the field. So
Fuller's always going to be a
right.
guy. And Hopkins isn't going to have a short ADOT either.
It's just, I mean, like we know. I mean, just look at his pass attempts: 34, 32, 40, 42, 44, chest injury, 25, 24. So like, it looks like something's there. And I think you're totally good fading Deshaun Watson because he does have an elevated price tag. Like 11.6 is pretty expensive for an injured quarterback. So definitely you could definitely get away with him.
One thing I was going to say with that, and this is what I was playing with right before we got on the pod, and I never really landed on anything, but if you do go down to Brock Osweiler, I could see – I'm sure there's a build where if you go down to that, you might be able to get both of the Houston receivers. I know that doesn't really make a ton of sense, but I think those targets are going to be extremely condensed to Hopkins and Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you get – I mean, I'm just going to to see how much we have left. Oh, nah. See, now you got 1-4 left. So you can't do that. That's kind of what I was thinking about. I was hoping it'd help me get up to that, but it doesn't. I think
it's pretty easy to – go ahead.
I think what helped me get to was Jakeem Grant with one. Yeah, that's what. Or, sorry, not Jakeem Grant, Kenyan Drake, who we could talk about Kenyan Drake if you guys want. But I'll let Taylor go because he was going to say something on my point I just made.
I was just saying on the playing Will Fuller and DeAndre Hopkins, I think you can easily project them to have like a 50% combined target share on that team. For that game. Yeah. I mean, because Griffin is out and so is QT. I don't know. The guys that are stepping in really.
I forgot to mention Griffin earlier. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also, I mean, Houston runs a lot of like 2 tight end sets. Right. So I mean, they're going to be putting guys in who probably have not run a lot of like these 2 guys right here. Wait, this isn't. I thought that was going to be Julius Thomas. I really thought that was going to be Julius Thomas. These guys probably aren't going to be running a ton of routes. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if Ryan Griffin does in general already, but, I mean, I don't know. I think that those 2 guys are going to be all over the place, especially if Houston gets in a place where they have to pass, but I don't see that happening. But
yeah, they may roll out a couple tight ends in this matchup, but, I mean, the tight end spot has never been targetable in Bill O'Brien's system. It's never been something that's featured, so I'm off those guys.
And 2 tight end sets mean you don't run a third receiver, so –
Right. So but I do think they'll be doing that a lot. I mean, I think their offensive line it ranks like 28th in the league or something as far as allowing pressure, and Miami's like 28th in the league as far as generating pressure from their defensive line. But still, they do have some guys there who can rush the passer. So I do think we'll see maybe a couple tight ends, and they'll be blocking a good bit to protect Watson.
Yeah, it's just more to the point of playing Lamar Miller.
Right.
It's kind of obvious.
Yeah, definitely. We don't have to talk about Drake that much, but he is a guy that's interesting to kind of as a jam in. I mean, again, he's a guy who is second in target share, who's going to get the ball on the ground as well. It's a tough matchup on the ground, I believe. But if you think that, I mean, the 2 outside receivers in this game are Jakeem Grant, who is just a speed guy, and DeVante Parker, who they literally don't even want on their team. So – I'm just saying, like, there's 2 other targets on the team. They're Danny Amendola and Jakeem Grant. So, I keep on saying Jakeem Grant instead of Kenyan Drake. I don't know. I think those 2 could be, again, just like kind of Houston, I think those 2 could get heavily condensed in targets. I love Jakeem Grant, but I'm just going to say that about Drake.
Yeah, I mean, you get a large part of the Miami offense just by getting Amendola, Osweiler, and Kenyan Drake. Especially through the air. And we're talking about them being in a negative game script, but I actually think Houston will probably struggle to score like they have the last couple of weeks.
It's going to be a slow game, which that's Texans defense is in play. They're priced up, but they're in play heavily.
And when it's a slow game, you want guys that catches in slow games just because it sets their floor a lot higher. So guys like Amendola, Hopkins, even Kenyan Drake in this situation are going to have really high floors just because they're used so much in the passing game.
Yeah, I like Kenyan Drake actually a lot. I think he'll be a guy that probably cracks my lineup. He is their receiving back. We do envision them to be trailing, even if Deshaun Watson's backed up. I think like that defense is good enough to give them good field position. They'll score points, and I think Miami will be trailing. And I mean he's their receiving back. Adam Gase talked about running him at wide receiver a little bit with all their injuries, so he's going to be out there getting targets, and like he's their most talented player.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
far.
that's the biggest thing I was gonna say. I mean, this dude's gonna get the ball in his hands, like for sure.
Yeah. If he has, I think he's a little over 13 touches the past 3 weeks, so that's fine. 13 touches, a lot of that coming in the air. That's a solid play because he can take one to the house anytime.
So basically, for me, where you're gonna end up for my build is pretty much you're deciding between Watson and then two guys down here being like for me, Jakeem Grant. And then like another guy. So a kicker, probably Fairbairn.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go Osweiler, get definitely a safer floor in Kenyan Drake than Jakeem Grant. I mean, Grant's upside is very high because again, he's like I think he ran like a 4.35 or something high. Like if he ran a really good 40. And then you're in the same place, pretty much, except you can get Texans defense if you prefer that. So, you know. I don't know.
I mean, that team. I think I like this team a lot more.
Yeah,
I just go with a kicker here. I'd probably go with Grant. Might as well go with Grant, but
it's Texans versus Grant is hard, but also Fairbairn is a great play because Miami's defense isn't horrible. Like and Houston's gonna struggle to move the ball, as we said. Like Fairbairn seems like a really good play.
Yeah, I love Fairbairn. Like I think he's probably got to be in a. I mean he seems really optimal. Just as far as like I feel like the
Wi-Fi just cut out now. What just happened?
Did it
cut out for a second?
No, it's cool.
Okay, all right. I was just saying. I don't know if you caught what I said. I was just saying I think it'd be super optimal to play Fairbairn. Like I just think that's like this is a spot where you play kickers.
Kickers keep going off on showdowns, man. They keep going off. 5 field goals last time. Who was that?
They're just so safe. 5 field goals. I can't remember. I think it was on the Chiefs Patriots one.
Yeah, I think it was too. And then
we had Tavecchio in the captain spot last time.
Yeah,
Tavecchio like 17 points or something.
Yeah, he went off.
There's merit to it.
Yeah, there's definitely merit to it. And this is again like we always end up in these low totals. I think actually one of the first showdowns we did was that Cowboys-Giants game, and it was a super low total. And both the kickers spazzed in that game. I mean, when you end up in these low totals, I mean, that's the reason that they're in low totals. I mean, because they're going to get field goals instead of touchdowns. So
yeah, they can't finish. Yo, is there any way that you can play Fairbairn and then upgrade the captain spot to anyone, like even to Osweiler?
Yeah, I would.
Probably not.
Osweiler. Actually, I bet you can. I bet you can fit Osweiler. Hold on, sorry.
Because that would be sick.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see.
Yeah, that's nice.
Solid team.
I like that.
We should
have a quarterback in the captain.
Do you guys okay, I think there's two more things we should talk about real quick. I know we've made this team and we've talked about the build already, but just in terms of like tournaments and stuff, I mean, are we all on Hopkins or Fuller? Where are we at on that? And how do you guys kind of feel about how you guys would use those guys?
I mean, the thing that they have, the 31st in pass protection, the Texans are, and he's having that chest injury. It's still bothering him, obviously, and it is on a short week, so he's probably not healthy still. So I'll take the lower ADOT kind of guy. His target share is like 29%, I think, and Will Fuller is almost exclusively a deep target. His ADOT's like 19, so
yeah,
I'll take the guy with the shorter ADOT and larger target share.
Agree, Addy?
Yeah, I like DeAndre Hopkins a lot. Matter of fact, I say you throw him in the captain spot and we build a team like that. Because I think there's a chance that this might still.
We'd have to get off of Drake, I think. But the low options suck outside of kickers.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, can we just get on a different kicker? Wait, who are we missing? Oh, Osweiler.
Yeah. Take out.
Yo, we can just punt.
You can do a lot from here. You can do a ton from here, actually.
Because put in Drake.
Drake's in,
yeah.
Or like Osweiler, rather. And then we'll punt kicker.
No, kicker's already taken. We already took a kicker.
What is – hold up. We're missing. Take out – what's 6,000? Who's 6,000? Nah. Is there any punts on this slate? Scroll down. Have we talked about that?
Nah, not. I mean, unless you want to take one of those tight ends for Houston.
Right.
I'm not playing their third receiver, who should be. I read it earlier. Who is there? I think it might be Sammy Coates. Or no. I think that Vincent Smith, should be the third guy. But I mean, he's not worth.
You could plug in Alfred Blue if you think it reverses back to a 50-50 time shot. I mean, he's 1,600. He could definitely siphon a touchdown, and he still got 8 touches last week. So you're getting 8 touches at 1,600. They're not very high upside touches, but they are touches. So you could play him. And also, if Jakeem Grant ends up being like chalkier and chalkier, you could just pivot right off of him to DeVante Parker for like the same price. Because I mean, DeVante Parker.
I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I just know that I'm a Jakeem Grant fanboy. So
for sure.
I mean, this is like my moment. Like I love Jakeem.
For sure. Nah, you're right. But DeVante Parker, I mean, this is a guy who knows the offense, like, and he's cheaper. And he's good. Like, I still think DeVante Parker is good. I don't think he's got a real fair run. And the fact that when I saw him at 3,400 and the fact that he's for sure starting, and I heard he might be thrown into a heavy snap count right off the bat, I think that is a place that you could definitely go. And especially if Jakeem Grant's becoming like super, super chalky, because Jakeem Grant's a deep threat, and he may not get a lot of time to pass Osweiler. So is DeVante Parker. He's kind of in that same mold, but I definitely think he's in play.
I was just gonna look at what Jakeem's. I mean, it's only 6 targets, but 8.8. I was just curious where he's kind of been on the field. That's not horrible for him.
No, it's not horrible. Actually, he's lower than I thought.
Yeah, that makes me more interested. That makes me think he'll be a little bit more dynamic. But who knows how they're gonna use him? But he can line up all over the formation too. I think he scored touchdowns from the backfield this year, or he scored a touchdown from the backfield this year.
This slate has like the lowest amount of cash game options I've ever seen in a showdown slate.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think realistically the kickers are probably better options than both of these Miami guys.
I agree. I mean, yeah.
Most likely, because I think to outscore the kickers, they're going to have to score a touchdown. I just don't think that's happening.
Should we talk about some Texans defense real quick? Maybe throw them in. They're a good play.
We landed on that team where you can put in Texans defense.
Right. Yeah, they're definitely in play. I mean, the past 3 weeks they've scored, or the past 4 weeks they've scored no less than 7, and 3 of those weeks they've been above double digits. 2 defensive touchdowns those past 2 weeks. Those are hard to predict, but I mean, versus Osweiler, they get a little easier to predict. So
I really think this Hopkins MVP team is kind of impossible to make.
It is.
Nah, is it? I don't.
I mean,
you're gonna have to get 2 bad players. Or like kicker level kind of.
And then you're gonna have a ton of money left, and it's like, well, why don't I get Will Fuller or Deshaun Watson?
Right.
So I mean, so let's just go down. Let's do that. Let's just go down to Jakeem Grant.
Okay.
And then see, like here you can go up from Osweiler to Fuller now. But it's like,
can you get Watson? Oh wow, Watson is so expensive.
He's so expensive.
Yeah,
the more I look at this slate, the more I think Deshaun Watson's price is crazy.
Well, given the situation.
Yeah. I mean, if Deshaun Watson was healthy, he's a great play. He's a jam at 11.6 if he's healthy.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed.
We talked about it. I think we're good, right? Thorough?
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Sounds pretty good to me.
All right. Once again, you guys can comment. Again, we're going to give away a free pass, like season pass, to all of our lineups, all of our cheat sheets to NFL or NBA. Or NHL, I guess, if you want. We could be convinced to give you an NHL pass. We'll give that away on Monday, so just comment, subscribe. And then last thing, we're all on Twitter. I am at ByHart. Well, first of all, we're at Locks DFS. I am at ByHardy. Taylor is at Taylor Stuber, and Addy is at Really Addy. Really Addy. All right. We'll be back for Taylor's back every day, but we'll be back for our week 8. Wow, halfway through the season. Look ahead on Friday. So we'll see you guys all then.
Peace.
Peace.